Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back with today's question. This one says, Vinny, I just saw a client with a driving phobia and they couldn't visualize anything. I know you always say that the presenting problem is not the real problem, but how do I help somebody that they can't visualize? I asked, what do you notice about this and that? And she kept saying nothing. She kept saying she drew a blank. Okay, that's actually a pretty interesting situation. So admittedly, I'm a bit limited in my ability to help you sort of get that client to visualize things because I don't work that way. It actually reminds me of an old Erickson quote. Let's see here. Got it. Whatever the behavior offered by the subjects should be accepted and utilized to develop further responsive behavior. Whatever the behavior offered by the subjects, it should be accepted and utilized to develop further responsive behavior. Any attempt to correct or alter the subject's behavior or to force them to do things they are not interested in militates against trance induction and certainly deep trance experience. What an interesting quote, right? So think about how that applies to this situation here. You have someone in front of you and they're saying, I can't visualize what's going on. And then you're asking them what they noticed. The honest, accurate answer is, I don't notice or see anything. So I'm not able to, they're just not visualizing it, right? So here's the thing, like, the big point I want to make is just like imagine you have two paths, okay? On one side, you've got what I like to refer to as like a technique dependence. There's some cool stuff about that. Let's explore what the cool stuff is, right? So you're going to run into situations with a client and because you're limited by the techniques, you know. So what that means is you get to go out and explore and learn all this other really cool stuff out there. Protocols, techniques, stuff like that. Different approaches, different methodologies, and then you continue down the path, and you're gonna get stuck, and then you get go to a Facebook group, ask people what they know, what do they recommend. Maybe they've got a training they recommend, so now you go do that. That's kind of fun. You get to continue to learn all this stuff. However, there is another path, and they're both paths to mastery to some extent, I would say. And I would also just want to point out that you are on a path to mastery, whether you know it or not, because you're seeing people, and that's where all the real learning happens. But this other path is quite different because it's more about learning how to accept and utilize what the client does organically, right? What they do naturally, and we just make that the vehicle into trance. We make that our method of hypnotherapy. So now you're no longer limited to working with people by sort of making them meet you at the level of your technique. Now you get to just meet them where they're at. See, and so there's an advantage there, right? It's pretty cool like that. And ultimately, that path to mastery is more about the subtleties, the nuances, and getting some time and some reflection, etc. Basically, your instincts, creating an opportunity for your instincts to flourish and develop as you see more and more people. So that's what we did during my 2-day, right? It was more about creating an opportunity for their mind to sort of start to work that way, right? How do they start to notice this naturally occurring phenomena? What do we do? How do we sort of utilize that? And so I think that's a very fun way to work. Now, there's nothing wrong with the other approach, right? I wouldn't say that. It's people like to work different ways. I like to work the other way, So yeah, I would never go into a session making them visualize things. Don't know what that was. But I think the best advice I could give you here is just to start to accept and utilize whatever that client's doing naturally. So yeah, I think I appreciate you asking that question. I wish I could provide a little bit more help in terms of like a technique or something. I just don't approach it that way. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. Let me know if you have another question. If anything about that it makes you curious, shoot me another message. Take care, everybody.